After making my video entitled 20 Facts About the Sabbath Every Christian Must Know, I got a few questions asking me just how it is that Christians are supposed to keep the Sabbath. So in this video, I'm going to be answering that question by giving you 7 guidelines for keeping the Sabbath holy. Let's get right into it. Number 1, set your mind on God. The Sabbath is a day that God has given us to take a break from our work and our worldly cares and thoughts and be able to focus more on Him. And in doing so, God promises to bless us. Isaiah chapter 58 verses 13 through 14 puts it this way: "If thou turn away thy foot from the Sabbath, from doing thy pleasure on my holy day, and call the Sabbath a delight, the holy of the Lord, honorable, and shalt honor him, not doing thine own ways, nor finding thine own pleasure, nor speaking thine own words, then shalt thou delight thyself in the Lord, and I will cause thee to ride upon the high places of the earth, and feed thee with the heritage of Jacob thy father. For the mouth of the Lord hath spoken it." Number 2, attend Sabbath worship. The Sabbath is a time to worship with like-minded believers. Leviticus chapter 23 verse 3 states, 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of rest, and holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in all your dwellings. A convocation means an assembly. It means that we should get together to worship the Lord like we do at church. Even Jesus went to the synagogue on the Sabbath. Luke chapter 4 verse 16 says, "And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and, as his custom was, he went into the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up for to read." By the way, a custom is like a habit. It's something you do on a regular basis. Therefore, Jesus attended synagogue on the Sabbath on a regular basis. Jesus was our example in all things. So that means that we should attend church on the Sabbath on a regular basis as well. Number 3, don't buy or sell. Nehemiah chapter 13 verses 15 through 17 states, "In those days saw I in Judah some treading wine presses on the Sabbath, and bringing in sheaves, and lading asses, as also wine, grapes, and figs, and all manner of burdens, which they brought into Jerusalem on the Sabbath day. And I testified against them in the day wherein they sold victuals. There dwelt men of Tyre also therein, which brought fish and all manner of ware, and sold on the Sabbath unto the children of Judah, and in Jerusalem. Then I contended with the nobles of Judah, and said unto them, What evil thing is this that ye do, and profane the Sabbath day?" When we engage in business on the Sabbath, it takes our thoughts away from God. Number 4, do some ministry work. Granted, the Sabbath is a day of rest from our secular labors, but ministry work is acceptable. Even Jesus ministered to others on the Sabbath. He said in John chapter 5 verse 17, "My Father worketh hitherto, and I work." Some people think this means that Jesus broke the Sabbath, but it's important to notice the kind of work that Jesus did on the Sabbath. He went around preaching the gospel. The Bible never says you can find him in the carpenter's shop on the Sabbath. Even pastors work by preaching the gospel on the Sabbath. Not to mention, the Bible says that Jesus never broke any of God's commandments because he was sinless. The debate over the Sabbath issue in the New Testament between Jesus and the Jewish religious leaders was not about whether or not to keep the Sabbath, it was over how to keep the Sabbath. The Jews had loaded the Sabbath down with numerous tedious restrictions that were not biblical, like not being able to heal on the Sabbath. And that's why they accused Jesus of breaking the Sabbath. Number 5, the Sabbath is a time of healing. In many instances in the Bible, Jesus healed someone on the Sabbath. One example is in Matthew chapter 12, verses 10 through 13. It states, "And behold, there was a man which had his hand withered. And they asked him," meaning Jesus, saying, "Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath days?" that they might accuse him. And he said unto them, "What man shall there be among you that shall have one sheep, and if it fall into a pit on the Sabbath day, will he not lay hold on it and lift it out? How much then is a man better than a sheep? Wherefore it is lawful to do well on the Sabbath days. Then saith he to the man, Stretch forth thine hand. And he stretched it forth, and it was restored whole like as the other. Some Christian doctors and dentists actually help people with healing and dental issues on the Sabbath voluntarily in order to be able to tell them about Jesus Christ. Christians also find themselves working in the hospital on the Sabbath sometimes, and they don't find anything wrong with that because acts of healing are acceptable on the Sabbath. By the way, even though most jobs should be avoided on the Sabbath, there are some exceptions when it comes to health and safety, like people in the medical field and police force. Even the Jewish kings of the Old Testament had military guards on constant standby. That's because you can't just shut a hospital down for one day because people will die. Also, you can't shut a police station down for one day because there would be anarchy. Law and order needs to be maintained. But even if you're a Christian and you find yourself in such a job, you should do everything in your power to try and get some Sabbaths off, if possible, to attend Sabbath worship. Number 6, the Sabbath is a time for prayer. In Acts chapter 16, verse 13, Luke wrote, "And on the Sabbath, we went out of the city by a riverside, where prayer was wont to be made. And we sat down, and spake unto the women which resorted thither." Of course, not only the Sabbath, but every day is a good day for prayer. But you can pray more during the Sabbath since you have church and more free time. So you might as well take advantage of that. That is, if you're working during the week. Number 7, keep food preparation to a minimum. In case you don't know, the day before the Sabbath, Friday, is called the preparation day. That's the time where you can clean and do most of your cooking and so on, so that you're not distracted by those things on the Sabbath. Exodus chapter 16 verse 23 puts it this way, "And he," meaning Moses, "said unto them, This is that which the Lord hath said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath unto the Lord. Bake that which you will bake today, and seethe that you will seethe, and that which remaineth over lay up for you to be kept until the morning." Preparing food for the Sabbath ahead of time helps us to have more time to rest and focus on the Lord during the Sabbath and not be distracted. It's also good to avoid making elaborate dishes. Make something simple that you can just reheat by popping into the oven on the Sabbath, or eat more fruits and veggies. That was 7 guidelines to help you keep the Sabbath holy. I'm sure you'll learn a few more things about keeping the Sabbath in your Christian journey, but these guidelines will help you get a good start when it comes to honoring the Lord on His holy day. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Also, if you want email alerts directly to your email inbox of my future uploads, when you subscribe, make sure you click the gear icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page, and click on the send me all notifications for this channel checkbox and click save. That way, you'll never miss another upload of mine. Feel free to check out my live stream on friendlife.com as well. You can join me on PC or download the Friend Life app to your smartphone. And you can find a link to my live stream in the description box. I stream several times a week, especially on the weekends, and I post notifications when I stream to Twitter, so make sure and follow me there. God bless.